तं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरून् श्रीयुतपत्कमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सकलतान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं साधुदूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेहं श्रीराधान् कृष्णपादान् सकलललिता शाकान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी विशफानुसुते देवी नमामि हरिप्रिये। कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद व्यासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे।
Last week we were very fortunate. We had the blessings of His Holiness Bhakti Sastri Maharaj, who gave a wonderful class on the 11th chapter, text 55. So in this verse 1155, Prabhupada said that this is the most important verse in the Gita. Of course, he has said most important verses for a few verses on different occasions, but certainly this is one of them. So this verse and the verse before, what do they talk about? What's the common theme? 54 and 55.
About the devotional service?
Yes, very good. That Krishna can only be known through devotional service. And certainly, that devotee comes back to me. Is guaranteeing that. So text 54 is a key verse which we should memorize. So because key verse, we'll recite that verse and translation and then go on to 55, recap that and then connect to chapter 12. So Janardhan Prabhu is back today. To welcome him back, we'll ask him to recite text 54. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Okay, give the microphone to Janardhan Prabhu. He needs to read the verse. So good, we got all the boys here. They become big boys now. Very good, Aniket, Aditya. All good boys, huh? Big boys. Arvind also, yeah. Arvind is already a big boy. Hare Krishna.
Bhaktya tvananyaya shakya.
Bhaktya tu ananya shakya.
Aham evam vidorjuna.
Aham evam vido Arjuna.
Jnatum drashtum cha tattvena
Yatum tatrum cha tatvena
praveshtum cha parantapa.
Veshtum cha parantapa.
Translation by His Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. My dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding.
So what is Krishna saying here? That to see his 200 form is the most advanced devotee. He is the most advanced transcendentalist of all different categories. Last time Maharaj mentioned 5 different kinds of aspiring transcendentalists, right? You remember the 5? Yeah, I know. Yeah, 54 and 55 connected. So I'm just, yeah, no, that's okay. So in text 55, in that connection, Maharaj mentioned, of course that's not only related to 55, related to the whole chapter actually. But anyway, we can discuss it now or later. Still it is valid. What are the 5 different kinds of transcendentalists he mentioned? The highest he said was a Mahatma, right? One is a pure devotee, is a Mahatma. So one level below that? You are not there, yeah. Huh? Then are the demigod worshippers, or those who approach Krishna with the fruitive mentality. Chaturvida bhajante mam jana sukritin arjuna artha jigyasu arthati jnani cha vartarshava. So 4 kinds of pious people approach me. So the pious people, the 4 kinds, they are in the next level. Why they are one level below the Mahatmas? Hare Krishna, please come this side. There's a lot of room here. Come. Because they are motivated, yes. Because they have material motivation. So they are considered to be second to the Mahatmas. The first pure devotees are called Mahatmas. So they are on the highest level. Whereas the demigod worshippers and those who worship Krishna for some material gain, they are considered to be on the second level. Because they have some material motivation. They are not pure devotees. Hare Krishna. So we're discussing the 5 different kinds of transcendentalists, okay? And below them are actually demigod worshipper comes later. Yeah, demigod worshipper is a separate category. My mistake. Those who have material motivation, the worship with material motivation, they are second. And those who worship demigods, they are considered to be the third level. The third kind of devotees. And a fourth kind is those who worship the universal form, Vishwarupa. And last in the classification is the impersonalists. Yeah. Not the Mayavadis. Mayavadis are not transcendentalists, they are offenders. So Mayavadis don't count. But the impersonalists, Brahmavadis, they are in the last category. Because they are not attracted to the personal form of the Lord. They are only interested in the impersonal form of the Lord, Brahma Jyoti. So what are the five categories again? First category is Mahatmas, pure devotees who want pure devotion service. The second category is the four kinds who are materially motivated devotees. And the third kind, those who worship the demigods. The fourth kind, those who worship the Vishwarupa, universal form. And the last category is the impersonalists or Brahmavadis, not the Mayavadis, not included in that. Brahmavadis are not offenders. They are simply attracted to the impersonal form of the Lord. But the Mayavadis are offenders because they deny the personality of Godhead. All clear about 5 categories? Remember the 5 categories? Yes, good.
So these are the 5 categories of worshippers you mentioned. Now, my question is, the Vishwarupa is actually a form of Lord Krishna.
It's an imaginary form, it's not a form of Krishna. Imaginary form that's manifest by Krishna.
Manifest by Krishna.
To convince Arjuna and future that he is indeed Bhagavan.
Yes.
And also in future, if someone claims to be Bhagavan, they have to set the same standard. He's setting the bar there, setting a standard. Okay, you want to be Bhagavan, you should be able to show Vishwarupa on demand.
Yeah.
Yep.
So my question is, so how does the demigod worshippers comes about the imaginary form of Lord
Yeah.
Krishna?
Because the demigods are real. Demigods are real. They are not imaginary. And if one worships the demigods, demigods are also devotees of Krishna. Perhaps they are with material motivation. They have material desires. They want to enjoy the material world. But still, they have devotion to Krishna. Some devotion is a mixed devotion. So by worshipping them, mostly people worship them for material gain. But if you worship them out of real love and devotion, not expecting anything in return, then they will also guide us to Krishna. They'll say, actually, you should do Krishna Bhakti. Yesterday we were discussing the story of two brothers, Chandidas, and I think his brother's name is Krishnadas. Anyway, one was a devotee, Krishnadas, let's call him Krishnadas. He was a devotee. And the other brother was Chandidas. He was a worshipper of Chandi or Mother Kali, Durga worshipper. And needless to say, Chandidas was very wealthy. He was worshipping Kali, Mother Durga, and she was giving him all the wealth. But this Krishna Bhakta, he was poor. So Chandidas had a big house. Krishnadas had a small hut. Chandidas had big gardens, big orchards, big property, and used to grow a lot of flowers in the garden. And Krishnadas used to go and just pick flowers from whoever is charitable enough to donate some flowers for his puja. But he was a pure devotee, Krishna Bhakta. So every day he would do his worship for Krishna with very frugal offerings, very simple offerings, because he was not very wealthy. And on the other hand, his neighbor, his brother, do grand, gorgeous worship of Mother Kali. Very, very opulent worship. So one day, Krishnadas was looking outside his hut at his brother's garden. Such beautiful flowers, landscaped very perfectly, and nice flowers with the gardener taking care of them, removing all the weeds and putting all the manure and looking after the flowers like children with great love and respect. And there's beautiful flowers he was giving. I thought, oh, I wish I could offer to my Krishna these flowers. This is so nice. And he mentally offered one of those flowers to his deity. He couldn't go and get from him because it's not his property. He thought, anyway, I'll offer that flower that's growing so beautiful, that rose so beautiful. I really want to offer it to my Krishna. He has thought like that. And that day, Chandidas did his puja as usual. And when he was doing his puja, he offered Mother Durga, he offered her usual paraphernalia, arati and everything, and he offered flowers to the deity. And all of a sudden, as soon as he offered the flowers, Mother Durga, she came out of the deity form. And she said, I'm very pleased with your worship. I can grant you any wish you want. Whatever you want, I can give you. Ask for any boon. I'm very pleased with you. So Chandidas said, hang on. Wait, before you go to the boon, let me get one thing clear. I'm offering the same flower every day. Why today you have come out of the deity form and spoken to me? Just answering a question with a story that sticks in the head, And Mother Durga said, you offered me the Mahaprasad of Krishna. Krishna Prasad he gave me. So what Krishna Prasad? I didn't offer anything to Krishna. I don't believe in Krishna. I only worship you. Then Mother said, no. I am also a devotee of Krishna. Your brother mentally offered this flower to Krishna, and you picked that flower and offered it to me. So I got the Mahaprasad of Krishna. I'm so happy. This has pleased me the most. And Chandidas is very sincere Chandi Bhakta, Kali Bhakta. He is a sincere devotee. He said, Mother, if that pleases you so much, then every day I'll offer to Krishna and give you Mahaprasad. Because I want to please you. I don't want anything from you. You have given me everything. I don't need anything. So then he asked her, but then Mother, tell me one thing. If worship of Krishna is highest and you are also worshipping Krishna, why didn't you tell me all these days? I could have done Krishna Bhakti from the start. Why would I have to go and worship you? I would have gone to the Lord directly. Then she said, you are not ready for it. The time had not come for you to understand this. If I had told you earlier, you wouldn't have. Because of worshipping Durga or Kali, Chandi, she is a Vaishnavi. By pleasing her, he has pleased Krishna. And by doing devotion service that way, he has become eligible to become Krishna Bhakta. So Chandidas became so famous later on that the poems and songs he wrote, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would actually listen to those songs and his prayers and his poems. Chandidas' poems are very famous with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Very selected poems he would listen to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was very strict. Anything that he did not give pure bhakti he would reject. Chandidas' poem later on he wrote was so full of devotion to Krishna. He is completely transformed. So that possibility is there. That's why the demigod worship is placed above the universal form worshipper, above the impersonalists. Here's a living example of that. And there are other examples too. I'm sure you can think of many. Just thought I'll share with you this Chandidas. I was reading the other day about Chandidas. How Lord Chaitanya loved his poems and songs. And the name like Chandidas, you don't expect them to be a devotee, right? The name doesn't sound like a Vaishnava name. But actually he became a very great devotee. So that is the potency of devotion service. So the demigods, they are also engaged in devotion service according to their capacity, and in spite of their material desires, they still have devotion. Did I answer your question? Thank you. Okay, so 5 kinds of transcendentalists we covered already. Remember all 5 now? Okay, so among them the devotee is considered the best. So in this chapter, Krishna has shown different forms. He has shown the universal form, which was seen by Arjuna and all the demigods in the higher planets. And because of seeing that form, they were convinced that he is Bhagavan. Not that they were not convinced before, that was like an additional convincing point. So that's why you can see the grades. But to see the universal form also, one has to be demigod at least. Or have demigod vision, Divya Drishti. Without Divya Drishti, you can't see the universal form also. So one has to elevate oneself at least to the point of becoming a demigod, or having the demigod vision. But higher than that, which is the next form, superior to that universal form is the 400 form, which Krishna also, Arjuna requested to show the 400 form. Thus showing that even the 400 form comes from this 200 form. That point also we discussed last time. Maharaj explained that also. Yeah. And furthermore, Krishna showed his 200 form. Now of all of this form, which is the most rare? A 200 form. Why?
Isn't that all the forms are rare? Because Krishna also said that the Vishwarupa which you are seeing is no one has seen it before. So isn't that all the forms are rare?
All the forms are rare, but the 200 form is the most rare among them, because it's the most intimate. That's only revealed to his intimate devotees, not to everyone. And for that, the last 2 verses are there, where Krishna says, Bhaktya Tananya Shakya, the 54th verse, right? He says this is the most difficult to see. Bhaktya Tananya Shakya, only by undivided devotion service can I be understood as I am, standing before you. So this is the most difficult to see, and the most elevated devotees get to see the 200 form. And the last verse wraps up the 11th chapter. We'll read text 55 now. Charumata, you want to read 55?
Hi Krishna. Matkarma krit mat paramo.
Karma krit mat paramo.
Madbhakta sangha varjitaha.
Madbhakta sangha varjitaha.
Nirvairaha sarva bhuteshu.
Nirvairaha sarva bhuteshu.
Yasa mam eti pandava.
Yasa mameti pandava.
Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
My dear Arjuna, he who engages in my pure devotional service, free from the contaminations of fruitive activities and mental speculation, he who works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and who is friendly to every living being, he certainly comes to me.
Thank you. So again in this verse, what are the 5 main points which Maharaj described last time? Yeah. That's called mat karma krit. That is work for me. Then
Mat Parama.
mat parama.
Me the Supreme.
Yes, consider me to be supreme.
Mat Bhakta.
Mat bhakta.
Engaged in my devotional service.
Engage my devotional service and
Sangha Varjita.
yeah.
Freed from the contamination of fruitive activities and mental speculation.
And yes, nirvaira, sarvabhuteshu, not having. So these are the qualifications of. This is described as pure devotion service. This is pure devotion service. Makes me a supreme goal of his life. Is friendly to every living. He certainly comes to me. So that is pure devotion service. So one who engages in this pure devotion service, with these characteristics, 5 characteristics are mentioned, then one is sure to come to me. So what are the 5 characteristics again?
Matkarma Krit, engage in doing my work.
Working for Krishna.
Working for Krishna.
Second, use the mic. Yeah. So first you said is working for me.
Mat karma krit, that is working for Krishna.
Yeah.
So second is mat bhakto, mat parmo.
Mat parama. What does mat parama mean?
Considering Krishna as the supreme
Yes.
Lord. Mat bhakta, engaged in Krishna's devotional service.
Yeah.
Sankha varjita, free from contamination of fruitive activities and mental speculation.
Yeah.
And nirvaira, without any enemy.
Enemies. Yeah. So these are the 5 characteristics of the topmost devotee, topmost devotion service. And these are the conditions that Krishna says certainly comes to me. Certainly comes to me. So these characteristics are described differently by different devotees, also different aspects. This one you can see very closely resembles Anya Bilashita Shunyam. Isn't it? Jnana Karmana Vritam, Anukulana Krishna Anusharam, Bhakti Rottam. In Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami describes pure devotion service as being free from mental speculation and free from any fruitive desires, fruitive results. That is called pure devotion service. And yeah.
And is it also somewhat related to 9.27 as well, Prabhu? Where it says that whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, whatever austerities you perform,
yes,
that's somewhat related.
that is mat karma part. There's mat parama, so mat karma, mat parama, mat bhakta. Right? So mat karma, engaged in doing my work, is the first part of 1155. So 927 relates to that. And last time Maharaj also quoted the verse from 7th canto of Bhagavatam, Prahlad Maharaj, saying Bhakti has got 9 divisions. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Visnaswaranam, Sevanam, Mandanam. Yeah, all the 9 divisions of Bhakti which Prahlad Maharaj describes in the 7th canto of Bhagavatam. So Rupa Goswami has got his definition of Bhakti. Narada Muni gives his definition of Bhakti. What is Narada Muni's definition? That's the ending. Yeah, please use the mic.
Sarvapadhi Vinirmuktam, Parvatena Mangalam.
Nirmalam.
Nirmalam. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevana Bhakti Rucha.
Very good. So like that there are many definitions. So Narad Muni's definition is Sarvapadi Vinirmuktam, free from all designations. Tat Paratvan Nirmalam, and thus one becomes purified. How? By Rishikena Rishikesh Sevanam, by using the senses and serving the master of the senses. And that is called Bhakti Rucha, that is Bhakti. So different definitions are given. Even 18th chapter also you will find another definition of Bhakti, how Bhakti is the only way to attain Krishna. Bhakti amam bijanati. 18th chapter Krishna gives. So you can see that every chapter in Bhagavad Gita concludes in devotion service. 11th chapter also concludes in devotion service. We are seeing every chapter, 6th chapter. How did that conclude? Yogina api sarvesham Shraddhavan bhajate yo mam Samayuktatam mataha. All the yogis, one who abides in me and engages in my transcendental loving service with faith, abides in me, he is the highest of all. That is my opinion. So one who engages in my transcendental loving service, he is the highest of all. So again and again, every chapter brings out bhakti. 7th chapter also, Bahunam Janmanamante, Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, Samahatma Sudhana. Definition of Mahatma is given there. 9th chapter has got plenty. I don't have to even quote. So many in the 9th chapter. So devotion service has been glorified throughout every chapter. 8th chapter also. The last verse. What was the last verse of 8th chapter? Ruchika, want to read that? 8:28. Yajnashu Daneshu Tapassu Chaiva. Yeah, Mataji, Kalamataji, read, got it, you read it loud.
Vedeshu yajneshu tabassu chaiva daneshu yat punya phalam pradishtam atyedi tat sarvamidam viditva yogi param sthanam upedi chadyam.
Translation.
A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not benefit of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these, and at the end he reaches the supreme eternal abode.
So one who engages in devotional service is not deprived of the benefits of yajna, dana, tapa, all the performing sacrifices, giving charity, doing austerity. All this is covered by devotional service. So like this you can see every chapter. 10th chapter also, what is the ending? Last 2 verses of 10th chapter. Okay, give the microphone to Rochika.
यत् यत् विभूतिमत्सत्वं श्रीमदूर्जितमेव वा तत्तदेवावगच्छत्वं मम तेजोंश संभवान्.
Yes.
Translation of read. Know that all opulent, beautiful and glorious creations spark from but a spark of my splendor. And the last one is Athava Bahunaitena Kim Gyatena Tavarjuna Vishtabhyaham Idam Krishnam Ekam Shena Sthito Jagat. But what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe.
Yeah. So Krishna is telling again, he is supreme and devotional service is supreme. So that way, see every chapter, 11th chapter also. So after talking so much about bhakti, it is not no surprise that the next chapter, 12th chapter, is called devotional service. But Krishna is going to talk about pure devotional service. Yes, please.
One devotee asked me this question. When we have deities at home, and if it's winter time, we dress them up with warm clothes, and when it's summertime, you put the fan or air conditioning or whatever on. So the question was, is the heat and cold felt by the spiritual body or by the material body? So my answer was material body. And then they asked, then why do you dress up the deities during different seasons, the different ways? And I just, my answer, I don't know how accurate it was. I just said probably because that's the way we take care, and our material conception of taking care of anyone is this is one of the concepts, and it wasn't a very convincing answer. So what would you say?
See, Krishna does everything for his devotees' love, to exchange love with his devotees. I described in Vrindavan that baby Krishna would pass stool so that the gopis would have satisfaction of cleaning him and giving him a bath. Now we must say, well, if he is passing stool, that means he must have an intestine. He must have a material body. The spiritual body can't have stool. No, he has no intestine. It's also described. But he also manifests stool when he wants to. Similarly here also, he doesn't have material body. His body is in no circumstance material. So his spiritual form is always Satchitananda. That's why when one poet came to Puri and he wrote a poem that Lord Jagannath is the non-moving Brahman and Lord Chaitanya is the moving Brahman. All the devotees thought, what a beautiful comparison, what a beautiful analogy, what a beautiful concept, what a beautiful idea. And Puri, except Swarup Damodar, he saw it, he got very angry, tore it up. This is Mayavad. You have distinguished between Brahman as moving and non-moving. That means deity is just material. That is bogus. He was very upset. Because this poet wanted to give the poem to Lord Chaitanya. He said, I have written a poem, please read. Lord Chaitanya would read devotees' writings and he would appreciate them if they were pure devotional service. But they had an editor. Editor was Swarup Damodar. Editing anything that's not pure devotion, reject. Not allowed in the art. No articles are allowed in that to submit to Lord Chaitanya. So that way, if you see, we should not. Krishna can manifest sweat. When he was fighting in the battle of Kurukshetra, he manifests sweat. Prabhupada says he manifests blood, but he has no veins. He manifests sweat on his forehead, but he has no sweat glands. So medically, if you look at a doctor, will say, hang on, if he's got sweat, he must have sweat glands. If he's got blood, there must be veins. How did blood come? No, he has no veins, but he also has blood. So Krishna chose to manifest. So his body is at no circumstance material. It is always spiritual. Whether it's a deity form or a shaligram form or painting or any form he can take. His form is completely transcendental. So for accepting a devotee's service, he can feel cold. So devotee can give him warmth. Coming to your example. He can manifest hunger, so a devotee can cook for him and feed him. So Mother Yashoda thinking, if I don't feed my baby, he'll die. And Akrura says, I have to make such elaborate arrangement for his safety, otherwise Krishna will get attacked by some demons or some enemies. I have to have whole secret agents and whole system set up. So on the way to Mathura, no one attacks him. Even though he's going to fight in Mathura, he's not going there for a holiday. He's going there for a fight with Kamsa. And of course we know he's going to kill Kamsa even. But Akrura's mind is thinking, no, I'm his uncle, I have to protect him. He is my nephew. Krishna Balarama have two nephews. I've got my solemn duty of protecting them. And he took that protection so far that Krishna had to tell him, hang on, let's figure out let's be clear who's in charge here. Who's protecting whom? Let's get this right. Because Akrura got a bit too carried away by that. So Krishna had to bring him back to reality and show him who he really was. That's the Krishna Balaram. They took the form of Mahavishnu and Sankarshan, Anantashesh, so that he could see, oh, okay, who am I protecting here? They are protecting me actually. I don't have to be in anxiety. So like that, Krishna manifests these pastimes to increase the love of his devotees. That's the only goal. That's why he steals butter, that's why he steals the saris of the gopis, and everything he does is to increase the love of his devotees. So makes the pastimes relishable. Is that alright? Good point, good question, yeah.
On that point, last week Maharaj was explaining the song Chauragranya Ashtakam, and he said that Krishna is the most different god you have ever encountered. He's a thief, but what kind of thief? The best of thieves. And here we go praising him for his for stealing butter.
Yeah.
Then he is blue in color. I mean, you find every other color in the universe for your skin color, but nowhere will you find blue color, and here the Lord is blue colored. So he listed quite a few things which are different. It was just wonderful.
Yes. So all his pastimes of Krishna are like that. So in the spiritual world there's no need of, in the 15th chapter we read, Natat bhashyata surya na shashankana pavaka. No need of sun, moon, electricity. But in Krishna's Ras Leela, wants to do Ras Leela, the full moon is there in the spiritual world. How will it become night there? There's no need for, there's always light. But Krishna can manifest night also. He can manifest full moon. He can manifest so many conditions to enhance the pastimes.
In last week's session, Maharaj actually said about Kamsa, like he was remembering Krishna all the time to kill him, or he wanted to kill Krishna. But just a thought came in my mind. Bhishmacharya, which we actually accept as one of the great Mahajans, he wanted to fight with Krishna as well. So basically he is fighting, like when you actually enter into the Ranabhumi, when you fight, basically the intention is to kill Krishna. But so how we actually, I can understand, but I'm trying to get more explanation from you.
Yeah, there are 5 primary rasas and 12 secondary rasas. So chivalry is one of those. And the Lord enjoys these rasas. So the idea of fighting Krishna is to give pleasure to him. And Prabhupada specifically compares the arrows of Bhishma Dev piercing Krishna's body and drawing out blood, apparently injuring him, were as pleasing to him as the flower garlands offered by the gopis. He found it fun. This is good for him. He enjoyed it. And because he enjoyed that rasa, Bhishma, they had to come like that. Same as VIjay, they came as enemies to please the Lord. Not that they were envious of Krishna. They were never envious of Krishna. But because Krishna wanted a fight, the only fight can happen with the demon. And only time he attacks a demon when the demon attacks a devotee. So there is a perfect scene of hero and villain. The drama is there. Sometimes heroine, sometimes someone in distress, some devotee in distress, a child. Prahlad is a child. So Narasimhadev, he stood up big time against child abuse. He was not supporting child abuse. So the Lord manifests this in his pastimes. So for his pleasure. Ultimately it's for his pleasure. Krishna, everything he does is pleasing. There is no suffering. One time Prabhupada was describing how the Mayavadis, they say that we are God. But if you ask them, why are you suffering? If you are God, you should be enjoying like Krishna. Why aren't you enjoying? Why are you suffering? And they say, that is my Leela. What do you mean Leela? No one does Leela for suffering. Leela is for giving enjoyment to devotees, and enjoy. The Lord himself enjoys. No, this is my suffering Leela. And then they say, oh, look at Lord Ram, he suffered. Mother Sita was kidnapped. He was crying like an ordinary husband, lost his wife. He was suffering. He had to go through his karma. Well, I am also going through my karma like that. Such envious people. They're bringing Lord Ramchandra down to their level. Or they call themselves Bhagavan. Either way, those are the examples of envious people. They are not going to please the Lord. But Jai Vijay are a different category. Even though they appear to be envious of Krishna, actually they were giving pleasure to Krishna. So that's why Rupa Goswami's definition is the most complete definition of bhakti, pure bhakti. So, Anyabhilash Shunyam Jnana Karma Narvatam Anukulena, favorably done to Krishna. Now apparently Krishna may be displeased externally, but internally is pleased. And that's what is important. Just like the milk on the stove, when it was overflowing, Mother Yashoda stopped feeding baby Krishna and went to save the milk. Externally Krishna was angry. He broke the pot of yogurt and did the whole Leela on that day, Diwali day. He was very angry. Krishna was very angry. So does that come under pure devotion service? Krishna is not pleased. So did Yashoda do something that is not pure devotion service? What do you think, Sharmukhi?
I think you've said this before. The milk is also Krishna's devotee, so she was going to serve another devotee of Krishna.
Correct. And secondly, Krishna manifests anger externally, but internally he was very pleased. So the whole Damodar Leela took place. Krishna wanted Damodar Leela to take place. Nalakora Manigriva had to be delivered. See, Krishna has got many plans. He does many things simultaneously. So here Mother Yashoda goes to save the milk, and there he's thinking Nalakora Manigriva is getting delivered. What is the connection? You don't even expect to be connected. Krishna does multiple things. That's why his activities are described as Urukramasya Sahibandhu Ritha Vishnu Ryat Paramam Padam. In the Vishnu Sukta is described that his activities are called Urukrama. What does Urukrama mean? One who performs wonderful activities, wonderful actions. Adbhuta. Where does Adbhuta come? Adbhuta Shringa. Asking a prayer, yes. Which line is that? Tabakara Kamala Vare Nakham Adbhuta Shringa. What is Adbhut about it? What do you think, Shala? What is Adbhut in... What is wonderful about his hands? Yeah. His hands are soft like lotus, but his nails are hard that can cut the chest of, rip the chest of and the intestines of Hiranyakashipu. His chest is described as hard as steel. And Lord Nrsimhadev, he cut that as if he was cutting into some butter, soft butter. How difficult is to cut butter? He cut it like just putting his hands through some soft butter. It's almost melted. So easy it was for him. But his hand, but Tavakara Kamala, but the palm of his hand, the same hand, he blessed Prahlad Maharaj. It is soft like a lotus. The same hands and manifest nails, which are so hard, they can cut through steel. That's why it's called Adbhuta. So the Lord's pastimes are like that. You can go on. That's true. So many examples are there. So many. Wonderful. That's why Krishna is not ordinary. He is extraordinary. Prabhupada say Krishna consciousness therefore is not static. It is not dynamic. Ecstatic. Got you. That is another thing of Prabhupada. You can never predict what he's going to say. You try to predict, you'll always be wrong. Devotees tried. Every time he's going to say that. No, it's the opposite. And very often it's just the opposite, just to make it a point. Don't try to outguess the spiritual master. So Krishna is like that, Krishna's devotees are like that. You cannot predict. That's why it's described. Vaishnava kriya mudra na bujaya. You can very difficult to understand the kriya, the activities, and the mudra, the actions of a devotee. Vaishnava, you cannot understand. You try to understand it. It is going to be confusing. But one can't take advantage of it and do nonsense and say, Vaishnava kriya mudra, I'm doing one of my pastimes are going. We have to follow the rules. But if a devotee is doing something extraordinary, we should not be quick to condemn. We should see, oh, maybe there's a reason behind it. Something is there. Anyway, we're going a little bit off track here. But anyway, question answers are there, so it's really good. So let's get into 12th chapter now. So the 11th chapter is ended with devotion service, as is every other chapter. We have seen that. Therefore, 12th chapter is dedicated to devotion service. Now, because Krishna has shown his 400 form, his universal form, and his personal 200 form, Arjuna is thinking, hang on, it's a little bit confusing what is the most awesome here. Maybe some people think the universal form is most awesome. So to clear up that, Arjuna is going to ask a question in the 12th chapter, which is most important question. And Krishna is going to answer that question and establish bhakti again as the topmost process. Okay? So, we shall go to the 12th chapter without any further delay. Who would like to read this 12.1? Maliprabhu? Oh? Arjun wants to read. Oh, please. Yes. Oh, he knows 12th chapter by heart, isn't it? Awesome. Then it's going to be Arvind all the way. Yes, I forgot about that. Yes, certainly.
Evam sararayuktaye
Sarvayuktaye
Bhaktastyam paryupasane
Bhaktya tvam maryupasate
Yechapyaksharam avyaktam
Yechapyaksharam avyaktam
Tesham ke yoga vittamaha.
Tesham ke yoga vittamaha.
Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect, those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested?
Very good, excellent. Good boy. Very nice reading. Shloka also and translation also. Very good. So hang in there, Arvind. Don't run away. Until 12th chapter is finished, you have to attend these classes. That's it. That's why I'm saying whole chapter. If you had only learned first one, I would have said, okay, go and play. We need you for the rest of the chapter. Is that alright, Arvind? Can we take your help? Good boy. See, like, Aditya and Aniket, Vacho Vegam, I took their help for so many weeks. They helped me with that. Vacho Vegam, Anasakrodha Vegam. Right? 15 chapter. Oh, bad. Very good then. I have to accelerate now. 12 chapters, so I can come to 15 also. Very good. Excellent. Yes. So, Arjuna is here starting off with a question. That who is considered to be most perfect? Those who are engaged in devotional service, bhakti, and those who worship the impersonal form. Okay, so this is a important question after 11th chapter, just in case someone has a doubt and thinks that universal form is the most awesome or the most confidential, the most elevated, most advanced. Krishna is establishing, Arjuna wants to make it 100% clear, there is no room for doubt. Okay, so we shall read purports. Hema Mati, you want to read? Sorry, Sriyanmukhi, you want to say something before that? Yeah. Give the mic to Sriyanmukhi first.
After Sureshwar Prabhu's seminar on Prabhupada, I started reading Prabhupada Leelamrita.
Yes.
And in that I would like to quickly read just a small paragraph on how Prabhupada used to recite the 11th chapter, because we just concluded the 11th chapter.
Sure.
It's on page 22 of A Lifetime in Preparation. Abhay became a member of the English Society and would recite Keats, Shelley and other poets to his classmates. As a member of the Sanskrit Society, he recited the Gita, and some of his fellow students especially noted how eloquently he recited the 11th chapter, describing the universal form of Krishna. He also played soccer and took part in theatrics. So it's there in the lifetime preparation, so
Very
I thought
nice.
I'll quickly...
Very nice, a good observation. Yeah. Prabhupada was reading 11th chapter, so there you go. So now we are moving to the 12th chapter, right? Hema Mataji, you can read the purport, 12th chapter, text 1.
Purport. Krishna has now explained about the personal and impersonal and the universal, and has described all kinds of devotees and yogis. Generally, the transcendentalists can be divided into two classes. One is the impersonalist and the other is personalist. The personalist devotee engages himself with all energy in the service of the Supreme Lord. The impersonalist also engages himself not directly in the service of Krishna, but in the meditation on the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested. We find in this chapter that the different process of realization of the absolute truth, Bhakti Yoga, devotional service is the highest. If one at all desires to have association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he must take off devotional service.
Okay, we'll stop there. So what's the main point Prabhupada is making here? What's the point Prabhupada made here? Yeah, just use the microphone, please. There's one microphone in the front. Yeah. There are two kinds of transcendentalists. They're not devotees. Huh? Just use the word transcendentalist. That's the general term. Okay, go on.
So two kinds of transcendentalists, Prabhu, the personalists and the impersonalists.
Correct.
So basically, that's the key point. And within, so the impersonalists, they look at the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested nature of the Lord, and the personalists, the personal nature of the Lord.
They worship the personal form of the Lord, engage in His service. And yes, Ravi, please.
Sorry, Prabhu, did you actually say that the impersonalist is not a one type of a devotee, but just a transcendentalist?
Transcendentalist, yes.
Is it because they are actually not worshipping a form
of
the Lord?
Personal form of the Lord, yeah. That's right.
So that's a distinction.
Yeah, that's a distinction because they don't recognize the person form of the Lord. They have no attraction, they have no connection. They have removed their connection from the... See, to become a devotee, you have to be a person, right? And you have to belong to somewhere. You can say, I'm a member of nothing. Can you be a member of nothing? You have to be a member of ISKCON, a member of a citizen of Sydney or Australia, somewhere. I'm a citizen of no one. That doesn't make any sense. If you are a citizen, you must be a city there. Then only you can be a citizen, right? So similarly, devotee must belong to there must be Lord. Without Lord, how can there be devotee? Because they don't accept the Lord, therefore they can't be called devotees. It's simple. You see what I mean?
But they are still worshipping one of the features of the Lord.
Yeah, but that's not a person. That's not a person. The impersonal form of the Lord is not a person. Therefore, they can't be called devotees. How can they call them devotees? Huh?
I think, Prabhu, as you explained before, they actually deny the personal form of the devotee as well. So
that denials are the Mayavadis. Brahmavadis don't deny. They are attracted more. They prefer the impersonal form of the Lord. The Mayavadis leave out. They are offenders. They cannot be called devotees by any stretch of the imagination. Krishna has told Sukrutina and Duskrutina. So the Mayavadis come under Duskrutinas. But the Brahmavadis are not Duskrutinas. They are very pious. They are very pious. We should not disrespect them. Prabhupada said if a sannyasi comes who is an impersonalist, you should still offer respect to him. We should respect him. Because he is fixed in Brahman. That is not a small thing. However, they can't be called devotees either. Because devotee has to be devoted to the form of the Lord. Without that, it's not devotion or devotion. Hanuman is devotee of Lord Ram, not of the effulgence of Lord Ram. Never hear that, do you? So someone to be a devotee, there has to be the Lord, personality. Devotee is a personality. The Lord is a person also, a personality. He is supreme personality. So there is a personal relationship. Then the rasa is there. You can't have a relationship with the light. Can you have a relationship with light? No, you can't have a relationship with that. You have to have a relationship, there has to be two. Because they are not attracted to the person form of the Lord and don't want to have any association with that. Therefore, they can't be called devotees. That's why Prabhupada uses the word transcendentalists. The transcendentalists. That is a general term. Because why are they called transcendentalists? Because they are also aiming towards the supreme absolute truth. Even if it's impersonal, at least they are going towards the absolute truth. They are trying to purify their existence by doing tapasya, by doing austerities, by studying Vedas, Vedanta, to become purified. They are trying to purify themselves. So therefore they are called transcendentalists. Whereas those category of people who are only enjoying the material world, they can't be called transcendentalists. They are all materialists because they are staying in the material world only. They have no plans to get out. Does that make sense? First you and then this will pay.
Prabhu, so out of the 5 kinds of transcendentalists that we were just talking about,
yes.
So the top 2 will be called the devotees, or because one is the
Yeah, that's right. Those who worship, the first is the Mahatma, right? So that's definitely a devotee, no question. The second is one who the 4 categories, Chaturvida Bhajante Mam. They are also devotees with material desires. And those who worship the demigods also are devotees of the demigods. They are not devotees of Krishna, but they are devotees of demigod, because again they worship personal form of the Lord. But the moment you start worshipping the impersonal form, they can't be called the impersonal form or the universal form. They can't be called devotees because there is no personality there that you can relate to.
Thank you.
That's what Priya Prabhu. Universal form, they can't be called devotees of universal form because there is no such. It's the imaginary form. If I say I'm citizen of some XYZ country which doesn't exist, that's as good as saying I'm not a citizen. It is not real.
First paragraph, the last sentence also it is mentioned. The personalist also engage himself not directly in the service of Krishna.
Yeah, that's
they are
right.
not directly.
They are not direct. They are indirectly. That's why they call impersonalists or transcendentalists. They are not called devotees. That's the reason. Janardhan, you had something to say? Same question. Yes, Sharmukhi. You got a mic there?
I was listening to the Srimad Bhagavatam class by Gopavrindesh Prabhu, and he's from Kerala, and he says he has some relatives who attend this Bhagavat Saptas very regularly. And when he went there, he also gave one of the Bhagavatam classes, and they really liked it. And then he said, why don't you also chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra? And when he was giving the class, it seems they were crying and all that. But they said, no, we come and attend the classes, that's all. So he said they don't serve Krishna either by chanting the holy name, nor by doing any deity worship, nor doing any service in the temple. So are they also impersonalists who are just enjoying the Lord's pastimes? Can they be called impersonalists?
That's a difficult one to answer because I don't know the exact circumstances. We can think of possibilities. Possible, because I can think of few categories of people that I don't know exactly those people. For example, you see the Dhamvasis. They live in the Dham. They don't chant every day, some people. But they are living in the Dham and they are attached to Krishna. They are attached to Radharani. So they are considered devotees even though they don't follow the Vaidhi Bhakti that we are following. Okay, that's one category. So those people might be in that category. We can't, like Jagatini Mataji, she was telling, she was doing in the early days, Prabhupada was there, she started doing puppet shows. You were there when she told that?
Yes.
Huh? Retreat, no? Yeah, you were there. Can you recollect?
I don't know. I can faintly recollect.
I'll help you.
Prabhu. Since she was expert in this, artistic things. Sorry. So since she was involved in these artistic things and she was creative.
Puppets.
So she created a form of displaying Krishna's pastimes through exhibition of this puppet show. And this, it seems the devotees they could understand this much more easily because they could correlate themselves with what was happening. So they were, it was much more easier and receptive for the devotees through the puppet show.
True. No, I think that's a different one.
Oh,
okay. We're going in different direction. I'm answering her question, Sharmukhi's question. Mother Jagatrini, she was doing the puppet show to preach to the Brajvasis. Her intention was to preach to the Brajvasis and get them all to chant Hare Krishna and become devotees like us. So every time she did the show, the people treated her very badly. They yelled and heckled and they disturbed her performance and they started making bad comments. And every time she tried to do something, she just failed. And she kept on crying and saying, why is Krishna doing this to me? I'm trying to preach after all. Prabhupada asked us to preach. I'm trying to preach. And I'm doing Krishna Leela. These are all Brajvasis. Why they don't want to see it? Why they are being so offensive, so rude, so treating me so harshly? And then later on, I don't remember who told this. I think some Maharaj actually told her that you are trying to teach bhakti to the Brajvasis. They are already devotees. You can't tell them, now you please chant Hare Krishna. So whether they chant Hare Krishna or they chant Radhe Radhe, it does not matter. They are Krishna's devotees. And we have to learn from them. Of course, we have our sadhana. They may say to you, don't chant 16 rounds. We don't follow that instruction. But their love for Krishna, we have to learn. So if the audience is appreciating the Bhagavatam class and crying in that mood, which I don't know, then we have to be very respectful to them and say, okay, you are all elevated souls. We are chanting Hare Krishna because our spiritual master told us to chant Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya, Parampara is Narada Muni, all have told us to chant, so we are chanting. But these people are relishing Bhagavatam and that way going back to Godhead, we can't stop them. That is one category. The second category, which is probably the more likely category, are people who are very materialistic in their lives, who are not Dhamvasis. Even Dhamvasis can also look materialistic. See, if you look at their life, sometimes they watch movies and sometimes they are speaking swear words. They don't look like transcendentalists. But if they are Sahajiyas, the other category is Sahajiyas. Those who come to class, they cry in the class and they read only 10th canto, only that to Ras Leela, focus on that part. Then those, Prabhupada said, those are all frauds. And they should not be accepted as genuine devotees. We can mentally respect them, but we should not follow them. So there is a few possibilities there, and really hard for us to comment which category they are following in. And unless we have a proper bit more detail about them, it's hard to make the comment. But certainly, when Mahaprabhu was asked, who is a devotee? And he said clearly, one who chants the name of Krishna is a devotee. Even once. Then later on he said, one who constantly chants is a better devotee. And one who makes others chant in his presence is a topmost devotee. So like that, there are different categories of devotees. If they refuse to chant the holy name, that doesn't mean, that indicates they're probably not devotees. But then you don't know what mood they are in, what rasa they are in. A bit hard to say whether they are devotees or not. So, see, we can respect everyone mentally, there's no problem. But to follow them, we have to follow our Guru. We don't want to follow the example. Another two.
So, Prabhu, on this point, I have a question.
Yeah.
For us, yes, we chant regularly. We've been asked to chant. Now, the same question, arises from what Mataji was mentioning, that those people, they are listening to Bhagavatam. So, does that also falls under the Navavidhi Bhakti of Shravanam?
Yes, it does.
So, is there also one of the, ways of attaining the Lord?
Sure.
So they also stand equal chance.
Yeah, they can be called devotees, but what class of devotees we don't know. What category they are, we can't say. No? That's what I'm saying. There could be Raganuga Bhakti. They might be doing spontaneous devotional service, which won't follow the Vidhi. Now that may be because they are prematurely jumping to that level like Sahajiyas, or they're actually on that advanced level. We don't know. And I am not qualified to comment on that. But certainly we have to be careful. So we follow Srila Prabhupada, and we follow our spiritual masters who are following Srila Prabhupada. Under their guidance we are performing devotional service. So we are safe. That way any anga of bhakti you can perform and get perfection. And that we have studied in the Bhagavatam. Right? Any one of them is sufficient. Prabhupada even said you can eat your way back to Godhead. Just eat prasad all your life and go back to Godhead. Do nothing else. Though that's not recommended as taking advantage. See, if I think I'm going to take advantage of the statement and not do anything and be a lazy bum and just keep on feeding myself, Krishna may not be inclined to take us back. But one who is a complete fool, doesn't know anything, is completely ignorant, innocent, and takes prasad with great respect, Krishna may take that person back to Godhead, like the fishes in the Ramanujacharya Leela. The fish went back to Godhead. They didn't do anything else. They just ate some Mahaprasad from the hands of Ramanujacharya, which all the disciples are doing every day. But they didn't go back to God, but the fish were taken back to Godhead, because the Lord was pleased with that. So this comes back to the point of honorary degree and actual degree. Honorary degree, the university might give somebody. Like Rabindranath Tagore, Prabhupada's example, he got honorary PhD from Oxford University for his wonderful poems. That doesn't mean everybody thinks I'll write poems and Oxford University will give me a degree one day. I don't need to go to school. No, that may not be the case. We have to work hard for it. That's okay? Alright, so we'll continue the purport. Balan Prabhu.
Those who worship the Supreme Lord directly by devotional service are called personalists. Those who engage themselves in meditation on the impersonal Brahman are called impersonalists. Arjuna is here questioning which position is better. There are different ways to realize the absolute truth, but Krishna indicates in this chapter that Bhakti Yoga or devotional service to him is the highest of all. It is most direct and it is the easiest means for association with the Godhead. In the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord explained that a living entity is not the material body, he is the spiritual spark, and the absolute truth is the spiritual whole. In the seventh chapter, he spoke of the living entity as being part and parcel of the Supreme Whole and recommended that he transfer his attention fully to the whole. Then again in the 8th chapter, it is said that anyone who thinks of Krishna at the time of quitting his body is at once transferred to the spiritual sky, to the abode of Krishna. And at the end of 6th chapter, the Lord clearly said that all yogis, one who thinks of Krishna within himself is considered the most perfect. So in practically every chapter, the conclusion has been that one should be attached to the personal form of Krishna, for that is the highest spiritual realization.
Okay. So each chapter Prabhupada is giving us here as evidence that this question has already been answered by Krishna in the earlier chapters. That the personal form of Krishna is the supreme. So which are the chapters Prabhupada quotes here? Second chapter. What is the verse he's talking about? Way back. Second chapter. 2:13. How can 13 fit that? 2:13 talks about changing bodies. Does it talk about absolute truth? Absolute truth is spiritual whole? No. 13 doesn't talk about the absolute truth. Which one talks about the spirit, soul and absolute truth? Very good. Microphone is missing. Without microphone, no points. 12.
त्वेवाहं जातुनाशं न त्वं नेमे जनाधिपाः न चैव न भविष्यामः सर्वे वयम् अतः परम्.
Good memory. Translation. Never was
there a time when I didn't exist, nor you, nor any of these kings.
Nor in the future.
Or in the future shall any one of us cease to be.
Very good. Excellent. Little assistance. They did well. Good. Yeah. So that one talks about the Lord is eternal, we are eternal. So we have a form, the Lord has a form. His form is spiritual, our form is material at the moment. But we can get our spiritual form as well. So both are eternal. So this is a personal form. So now the question is, which is superior, personal form or the impersonal form? That's the debate going on now. Okay? And Prabhupada is fiercely getting into the debate. Long purport. Make sure that there's no chance that if someone doesn't read the second verse also, the answer is already given here. Krishna has not spoken yet. Before Krishna can speak, Prabhupada jumps into the purport and tells you straight away, don't even think about it. That is second chapter. Then the next chapter the Prabhupada quotes is?
7.
No, chapter 6. 6 is mentioned there? After that, okay, you can go in order. Yeah, it's in order. Okay. 6th chapter comes next in order, so we'll go over 6th chapter. And which verse from 6th chapter he quotes? We already read that today. Yogina be sarvesham. Yeah, we already did that before, okay? Then chapter 7. Which verse does Prabhupada refer to there? Yeah. 7th chapter, no? You can't go to 15th chapter. Yeah, 15th chapter is coming up. Future verses are there. Mata paratram nanyat. Yeah, I suppose that does speak of that partly. What is 7.5? Mahabhaha Dharyate Jagat.
Besides these, O mighty Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mind which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources.
Yeah, the only thing is that does the first part, but recommend one to transfer the full attention to the whole is not there. That one, so it's partial. What does the last verse say? 10. What is 10? Please use the microphone. Yeah.
O son of Pritha, know that I am the original seed of existence and all the... No, probably not.
7.17. Read 7.17.
Of this, one who is in full knowledge and who is always engaged in pure devotional service is the best, for I am very dear to him and he is dear to me.
Okay, it does sort of mean that. Yeah.
Tesam jnani nitya yukta ega bhakti vishayate priyo hi jnanino yatyartham aham sacha mama priya. That's the 7.17.
Okay. How about 7.28?
Person who have
Yesam
tua antakatam papam jnananam punya karmanam te tvantva moha nirmukta bhajante mam trita vrataha.
Very good.
Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated or freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination.
Very good. So that is the one that recommends one to transfer your attention to the whole, to the Supreme Lord. Okay, 7.28 I feel is the closest that can link to that. Okay, now 8th chapter.
8.5 I think.
8.5, yes, very good. That's pretty clear. So give the microphone to Ravi Shankar. You can recite that verse.
Antakalicha mameva cha
Kalalecha mameva
Smaran mukta kalevaram Yah prayati samadbhavam Yati nasti atra samshaya. And whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt.
Very good. So this section, in practically every chapter, Prabhupada says here, the conclusion has been that one should be attached to the personal form of Krishna, for that is the highest spiritual realization. So every chapter Prabhupada is bringing out what we discussed earlier. Prabhupada is making that point. Okay.
Prabhu, so I have a question, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
In Ajamila, when at the time of death, he didn't remember the form, I believe. He only chanted he called his son in that name. But how he attained
Rabindranath Tagore case.
What?
Rabindranath Tagore. I said Rabindranath Tagore, I told him. He got honorary degree. That's an example of honorary degree. Because there are three kinds of perfection, right? Three ways of attaining perfection. One is sadhana siddha, one who does his sadhana.
Okay.
Second is
sadhana
siddha. Kripa siddha. Kripa siddha means so Ajamil is a kripa siddha. The Lord decided, he called his son, now my name, same namesake, I'll take it. The Lord decided to take it as bhakti, chanting.
Even Chadabharat, even though whole life he was chanting
that's what the
Krishna's
Lord decides.
name, but he took a day's birth.
Yeah, but eventually he became Jada Bharat. No?
Okay.
So eventually he got a success story. It's not a failure story.
Okay.
And the third category is called Nitya Siddha. So Nitya Siddha, Sadhana Siddha, Kripa Siddha. Nitya Siddha is eternally liberated. They never, like Arjuna, Hanuman, Prahlad Maharaj, they are never non-devotees and became devotee overnight. No, they are always devotee. Narada Muni. Narada Muni is a bit different again. Sadhana Siddha actually. Yeah. Ajamil is a case of Kripa Siddha. That's why I'm saying Rabindranath Tagore. So you should understand from that hint. Sharmik, you want to say something?
I was listening to Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj's Srimad Bhagavatam class in Melbourne, and someone asked how, with whatever kind of devotional service that we are doing, how can we go back to Godhead? What chance do we have? So for that Maharaj said, once it seems there was a boy who studied for his history exam or some exam at the very end, and when he went for his exam, he saw that he knew the answers for most of the questions, but for one question he hadn't heard of that king at all. I think it was a history exam. He said for all his life he had never heard of that king. He thought, I've answered all the questions that I know, but I've got lots of time and I've got so many sheets of paper. Let me just attempt it. And for 5 or 6 sheets, he just wrote some rubbish. Nothing to it. He didn't know anything about that king, and he just wrote some rubbish. And when the examiner was correcting, he thought, oh my God, such an effort he's made. 5-6 pages of rubbish. So he just gave some marks on the effort that he made. And so Maharaj said, in our devotional life, we might be jumping a little bit up and down in Kirtan, we'll be moving a few beads, we'll eat lots of prasadam. So we'll do and make a lot of noise, or we'll do a lot of rubbish. So Krishna says, okay, you made an effort, okay, let me give some marks. That is Kripa Siddha. That was Maharaj's explanation of Kripa Siddha.
Happy now? that gives hope to us.
And he even said, it seems when Maharaj was young, they used to play a game. 2 people get together and they should speak nonsense. Nothing should make sense. The one who can last longest speaking nonsense is the winner.
Yeah. Everything makes sense in Krishna consciousness. Yeah, that gives hope. Very true. Okay, so where were we? Oh, Srimani, sorry, forgot.
Prabhu, I think one thing that you had mentioned.
Why are you talking about dying now? That is nonsense. Yeah.
For Kripa Siddhas, Prabhu, you had mentioned in one of the classes that, especially in Ajamil's case, that he cried helplessly. So if we are at the last time, at the end of our death, if we are crying helplessly for the Lord, then that takes us back to God. So
of course, he didn't go back directly either. He had to go to Haridwar and Rishikesh and perfect his chanting there, and then he was taken back. But his chanting was helplessly calling. Very true. When the call is helpless, I think I told the story of the yogi, who was meditating for 6,000 years. Remember that? Huh? And he was meditating there, in front of his cave, and the hog gone. Yes. And there was. Can you tell the story?
So once in a village, a man was passing stool, and then the hog was very eager to eat the stool. So he was very scared of the hog, and then he started running very fast, and the hog was chasing him. So he came to the end of the cliff, and he started falling from there. So while he was falling, he was passing stool at the moment, and then he was not chanting, he was saying haram, 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 haram. I don't know what is the meaning
3
of
times,
haram.
You are too pious to know that. The bad word.
So he was falling down from the cliff, and then on the way of the cliff there was a cave where the yogi was meditating for many, many thousand years. So as he was passing down, and as he was chanting as he was saying haram, so immediately he got wings, and then 400 form, and he was taken back to Vaikuntha. So this yogi was so upset, saying that I was chanting for and meditating for so long years, and how come I did not get, whereas this man is falling unclean, and then swearing, and then how come he could able to get the 400 form? Then he went and asked
He went and asked Yamaraj, and then Brahma was called, and Brahma then said, "This is Narada Muni's department, I'll call my son." So Narada Muni was specially flown in for this purpose. He had to teach this. And then he explained that in Haram there is
Ram in it.
Even if unconsciously chanted the name of Ram, he is purified. But you are meditating on the impersonal form of the Lord. It's very indirect. Whereas this person, even if he chanted helplessly, Ram was there in that, and is helpless, as you rightly pointed out. It's helplessly chanted. So therefore, the Lord took it as a genuine call, SOS 000, and the Lord delivered him. So then Narada Muni explained the power of chanting the holy name. Yeah, that's relevant to this chapter also. Yeah, we can cover that when you read the next few paragraphs. We'd love to hear the story as well. Okay, so Satish, do you want to read the next paragraph? Nevertheless,
there are those who are not attached to the personal form of Krishna. They are so firmly detached that even in the preparation of commentaries to the Bhagavad Gita, they want to distract other people from Krishna and transfer all devotion to the impersonal Brahmajyoti. They prefer to meditate on the impersonal form of the Absolute Truth, which is beyond the reach of the senses and is not manifest. And so, factually, there are 2 classes of transcendentalists. Now Arjuna is trying to settle the question of which process is easier and which of the classes is most perfect. In other words, he is clarifying his own position because he is attached to the personal form of Krishna. He is not attached to the impersonal Brahman. He wants to know whether his position is secure. The impersonal manifestation, either in this material world or in the spiritual world of the Supreme Lord, is a problem for meditation. Actually, one cannot perfectly conceive of the impersonal feature of the Absolute Truth. Therefore, Arjuna wants to say, what is the use of such a waste of time? Arjuna experienced in the 11th chapter that to be attached to the personal form of Krishna is best because he could thus understand all the other forms at the same time, and there was no disturbance to his love for Krishna. This important question asked of Krishna by Arjuna will clarify the distinction between the impersonal and personal conception of the absolute truth.
Very good. So what are the points here, this last two paragraphs? Why is Arjuna so concerned? Very good. Because he is attached to the personal form of Krishna, personal form of the Lord. So he wants to know what is his position. The impersonalists, they say that worshipping the personal form of the Lord is the beginning stage. They're all bachchas. When you become advanced, you'll worship the impersonal form. You transfer. They say it that way. In the beginning, it's all deity worship is for neophytes. We are advanced people, we worship Brahman. We have no form. Because we can't think of no form, therefore we have some form, assume some form. Actually, you can worship football also. Worship a chair, any form you can imagine that gives you a little devotion, and that is very good. But remember, that's all temporary. Eventually, you have to come to the impersonal, no form. So this is the dilemma. Because they commit offenses, Krishna does not reveal his personal form to them. Now, even amongst the devotees, how much devotion we have for the Lord, that much he reveals his beauty to that devotee. You bring someone to the temple who is not a devotee, they will not be very impressed. What is all these dolls? What are those statues? They don't see beauty as Krishna. Whereas when devotee gets to say, oh, Krishna is looking so good today. You never say that statue is looking good today. You never find devotee saying that. Because when you love someone so much, you can see the person everywhere. And the beauty is manifest more and more. That's why for a mother, the child is always very beautiful. In Kannada, we got a saying that even for a rat, it's not considered very attractive, the baby looks very cute. The mother thinks, oh, my baby is so cute. Even for a pig, piglet looks so cute. But anyone will think, oh my God, so dirty. How can it be attractive? But for the mother, that will look nice. Because the love is there. When love is there, then one doesn't see the imperfections. One sees only the beauty. Of course, not that Krishna has imperfections, but you will not think in the material term that he is a statue made of marble or brass or wood or something. One will not see the material element. One will see Krishna there personally because the love is there. So Arjuna is concerned. What about me? I am worshipping you in personal form. Is that the highest, or is there something higher than that? So Arjuna wants to clarify that position. And what does Arjuna think about worshipping the impersonal form? What is the use in wasting time? Yeah, he says it's a waste of time. Why it's a waste of time?
It's inferior.
It's inferior, yes. What else? It's very hard to conceive anyway. And thirdly, when you have attachment to the exactly, all is included. The impersonal form is already included. You don't need to meditate on the impersonal form separately. When you worship the personal form of the Lord, the impersonal form is already included. Therefore, there is no loss. So one who is Bhagavan realized, he is the highest of all. That's why Bhagavatam gives 3 levels of realization. Vadanti tat tattvavidas tad jnanavadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdate. Absolute truth is seen by the transcendentalists. Again, they probably use the word transcendentalist there. See the absolute truth in 3 aspects. The Bhagavan, the impersonal Brahman, the Paramatma and Bhagavan. But of the 3, the Bhagavan aspect is the most complete because all other aspects are included in that. Okay. So Arjuna can be peaceful in his devotional service to Krishna. He wants to continue. So that's the reason he's asking the question. Yes. Shimali bro. Microphone has disappeared. There's 2 gone there. Okay.
I think that example, Prabhu, is very apt over here of the train, which is very far, and then it comes
Yes.
nearer. So we see the Brahman form later on, and as the train comes closer, we can see the personal form of the Lord. So, or the passengers inside the train, inside the bogie. So far away, we are only seeing the smoke. So, and then as the train comes closer, we can see the bogies, and then as it comes even closer, we can see the passengers inside the train. So that is actually the personal form of the Lord.
Very nice.
The analogy over there.
So Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan, realization. Very good. Very nice. Also sunshine, sun globe and sun god are also given as another examples. Sure, very good. Okay, let's move on to 12.2 then. 12.2 was not, shall I want to read?
Shri Bhagavan
Uvacha
Mayyaveshya mano ye mam Nityayukta upasate Shraddhaya parayopetas Te me yukta mahamata The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, those who fix their minds on my personal form and are always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith are considered by me to be the most perfect.
Very good. So here straight away Krishna is saying, those who fix their minds on my personal form and engage my service with great and transcendental faith are considered to be the most perfect. So very clearly Krishna is giving the answer here, not leaving any room for doubt. Okay, so we shall read the purport. Prabhuji, what's your name? Tom. Tombaraj. Okay. Oh, Manipur. Oh, very nice. Thank you. So please read the purport.
In answer to Arjuna's question, Krishna clearly says that he who concentrates upon his personal form and who worships him with faith and devotion is to be considered most perfect in yoga. For one, in such Krishna consciousness, there are no material activities because everything is done for Krishna. A pure devotee is constantly engaged. Sometimes he chants, sometimes he hears or reads books about Krishna, or sometimes he cooks prasadam or goes to the marketplace to purchase something for Krishna, or sometimes he washes the temple or the dishes. Whatever he does not let a single moment pass without devoting his activities to Krishna. Such action is in full samadhi.
Very good. Very nice. So, as you can see here, that these are the, what are your realizations on this purport?
Prabhuji, it's whatever activities that we get ourselves involved with, as long as we do it remembering Krishna and serving his devotees, himself, in whatever way we could,
Sure.
is what we should look forward to attain.
Very good. Very nice. Thank you. So whatever activity a devotee does is all samadhi, is all related to Krishna. And because of that, he is in samadhi. He's fixed in his consciousness. Whatever activity he may be doing. So these are the characteristics of advanced devotees, that they don't want to, in the Nectar of Devotion is described, the 9 symptoms of bhava. One is on the bhava platform. We have read already Nectar of Devotion, that first stage is called Adho Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, like that, Anartha Nivritti. Prabhupada in the purport of Bhagavad Gita purport describes that verse also, right? The different stages of all the way up to prema. Ruchi, Asakti, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, and then prema. So the bhava stage itself, before prema, the one stage before prema, has got certain characteristics, which actually there are 9 symptoms of bhava that is described in the Nectar of Devotion. And the first one, it says that devotee doesn't want to waste any time. He or she doesn't want to waste any time. It's always, like Prabhupada is saying here, always engaged in some service to the Lord, one way or other, whether washing, cleaning, cooking, shopping. Everything is service to the Lord. And Prabhupada in the early days of ISKCON, especially 2nd Avenue, 26 2nd Avenue, he was doing all of this. He himself was cooking the feast, himself was serving, himself was cleaning up afterwards. He had to raise the funds, he has to go and shop, do shopping. Every activity he did. But he never wasted his time. He was always engaged in devotional service. And he was very happy, not regretting, why I have to do all this? No one is helping me. He's not thinking like that. But eventually the devotees got intelligence, understood. He is a spiritual master. We should serve him. Not that he should serve us. Even Mukunda and Janaki's wedding also, he performed a wedding. He cooked as if he was a bride's father. He cooked all feast for so many guests that came. At that age of 70 plus, it's not an easy task to do with so little money, so little facilities, not much help. And that's why Jamuna describes Jamuna Devi. She came to, she was sister, right? Janaki's sister. She came to help Prabhupada, and how Prabhupada was teaching her, and she used to smoke cigarettes that time. And he had to tell her, please go outside and smoke, not smoke in the kitchen. And if you smoke, you have to wash your hand. If you go to the toilet, you have to wash your hand. If you touch your hair, you have to wash your hand. And she kept a little annoyed. She got a little annoyed, it's all this. There's a whole hilarious description she gives. And she was one of those microbiologists. What is it? Macrobiologists. Macrobiotics. They won't eat any sugar. And she's come to the feast. Prabhupada's cooked gulab jamun, halwa, kheer. She's like freaked out. Prabhupada made her eat halwa. She was horrified. She never touched sugar. Everything got sugar in it. So she describes her whole experience with Prabhupada and how she became such a great cook, great singer, so many things. So a devotee does not waste time. And the second is that he is always persevering. Persevering means always makes an attempt, doesn't give up. Radhanath Maharaj describes 3 kinds of devotees. Right? The first category of devotee, or I should say the third category of devotee, when they see some difficulties, they run away. They don't take any challenges. Leave them. I don't want to come out of the comfort zone. They are the third category of devotees. And second category of devotees, they will make an endeavor, but some difficulties come after, so they will try a few difficulties, and after some time they give up and they run away. But he says first class devotee is one who make an endeavor, make an effort, persevere, and even difficulties come, they don't give up. They go all the way through to the end. They do the complete service. They don't give up. So that is perseverance. And the third one is detachment. They are detached from the material world, detached from the results. And fourth is pridelessness. This is the symptoms of bhava. Pridelessness. Yes? They have no nirmana moha jita sanga dosha, free from false pride. And the fifth one is hope against hope. They never lose hope. They are always optimistic. Rakshishyate iti vishvaso. Having faith that Krishna will protect me. And sixth is intense eagerness. Always you find devotees who are in bhava, in ecstatic. Bhava means ecstatic love, Krishna. Ecstatic love. They are always eager to serve Krishna. And number 7 is constant taste for chanting. One likes to chant the holy name constantly. 8 is addiction to glorify Krishna. Krishna's qualities, Krishna's pastimes, all about them. The last is that they love to live in the dham, attached to the dham, holy dham. So these are the 9 symptoms of bhava bhakti that are described in chapter 17 and 18 of Nectar of Devotion. So if you happen to
what's the last one?
Attached to living in the dham, holy dham. So such a person is called most perfect in yoga. And Prabhupada says such action is in full samadhi. So all the senses are satisfied because they are all being engaged in Krishna's service. So they don't feel deprived. Whereas the impersonalists are trying to block the senses. And therefore they are always dissatisfied. Okay. We'll read 3 and 4. We can do that today. It will be good. This is a small chapter. So we need assistance again from our expert, chapter 12 expert. Yetu aksharam.
Yetu aksharam anirdeshyam.
Yetu aksharam anirdeshyam.
Avyaktam paryupasate.
Avyaktam paryupasate.
Sarvatra gamachinyam cha.
Sarvam garbham chitam cha.
Kudastamachalam dhruvam.
Kutastamachalam dhruvam.
Samniyamyendriyam gramam.
Sanniyamnendriya gramam.
Sarvatra samabuddhaya.
Sarvatra samabuddhaya.
Te prapnuvanti mameva.
Te prapnuvanti mameva.
Sarvabhuta hiterata.
Sarvabhuta hiterata.
But those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-prevailing, inconceivable, unchanging, fixed and immovable, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth, by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such persons engaged in welfare of all at last achieve me.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much. Well done. So here is the situation with those who are attached to the unmanifested, the impersonal form of the Lord. He says, eventually they'll come to me. Eventually they'll come back to me. Let's see what Prabhupada says in the purport. Ravi, you want to read the purport? Microphone, where's the microphone? Please give the microphone.
Those who do not directly worship the Supreme Godhead Krishna, but who attempt to achieve the same goal by an indirect process, also ultimately achieve the same goal, Sri Krishna. After many births, the man of wisdom seeks the refuge in me, knowing that Vasudeva is all. When a person comes in full knowledge after many births, he surrenders unto Lord Krishna. If one approaches the Godhead by the method mentioned in this verse, he has to control the senses, render service to everyone, and engage in the welfare of all beings. It is inferred that one has to approach Lord Krishna, otherwise there is no perfect realization. Often there is much penance involved before one fully surrenders unto him. In order to perceive the supersoul within the individual soul, one has to cease the sensual activities of seeing, hearing, tasting, working, etc. Then one comes to understand that Supreme Soul is present everywhere. Realizing this, one envies no living entity. He sees no difference between man and animal because he sees soul only, not the outer covering. But for the common man, this method of impersonal realization is very difficult.
Yeah. So what's your realization on this verse?
They're trying to compare this form and impersonal form. How difficult it is to understand the impersonal form, and also if you try going through that form of understanding, ultimately you will have to end up understanding Krishna is the supreme of all. After many births, the man wisdom seek refuge. Knowing him, he is the Vasudeva of all. So the direct approach is always better rather than
seems
going
better, isn't it? Because the verdict is going in that, the pendulum is swinging that way. Yes, very good. What else do we get from this verse?
Indirect process is very hard, because even though the result is the same, it's mentioned that it's quite hard, because they have to control the senses.
But is the result the same?
Yeah, ultimate result is the same.
How many of you think the result is the same? Please put up your hands. I want to know. Voting time. Election time. Yeah, that's why I'm asking a question. Listen carefully to my question again. How many of all those in favor of saying the result is the same? Please put up your hands. All those who think it's not the same. Which one are you doing? The same? Please put up your hand then. I want to see it clearly. 1, 2. Anybody else? Okay, rather than to interview now. Finally some excitement in the class. Why do you think that they are the same?
Odd one out. So, Prabhu, what was your question?
That's a good one.
Can I escape?
Escape route. You're allowed to change your mind. You can accept defeat and hand over the microphone to Ravi.
So, sorry, Prabhu, why I put up my hand was because Prabhupada has mentioned here.
Yeah.
So
but he has put a condition on that. Conditions apply. That's what I'm trying to get at,
Yes.
Conditions apply.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just joking. No, don't take personally. Don't commit Vaishnava Aparadhi.
That was the only reason why.
Yeah, you're right. I understand. No, I'm just doing it of dramatics.
But
looks
then
good
again,
on Mayapur TV.
But Prabhu, again, then we have already seen in earlier classes about I don't know whether that correlates with this situation that we've seen the lift example, and climbing by stairs and directly taking the lift. So
sure.
So always the devotees is the easiest. Being a devotee is the easiest.
That's agreed. Yeah, but we are asking about is the destination the same? Will they eventually get to the same destination? And so that's the question. Are they both the same in that sense, in terms of they get to the same destination?
Prabhupada has mentioned in the purport it can't be wrong, right?
Yeah, that's right. But read that carefully. That's what I'm trying to say. Don't just read and say, impersonal, personal, whatever, it's all the same. You'll all end up in the same result. I don't want that conclusion to come. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's what he's exactly saying.
He's saying that who attempt to achieve the same goal.
Not only that, there's another important point there. It takes a lot of time, yes. It's ultimately, yes. What else? Yeah. Vasudeva Sarvamiti, Samahatma Sudurlava. So it takes many births, it's very difficult.
And also I can see one other point Prabhupada mentioned that there is no perfect realization.
Read the whole thing. Yes, correct.
Often there is much penance involved before one fully surrenders unto him. So that's a process he's talking about.
See, if ultimately they're going to get to the same goal, then one may say, big deal, go for any path. Why is devotion service so important? One is saying, of course, that devotion service is easy and that's difficult, that we understood. Vidya Mataji? Yeah, now we are talking. Now, Vidya Mataji, you've got a hand up.
As Prabhupada is mentioning that it is the same goal. Anyway, Brahma Jyoti is the light from Krishna only. So we may be mentioning that it could be the same goal.
Correct. Very good point.
In the impersonal, as before you say, in the Brahma Jyoti there is nobody else, and we won't get any association of any devotees over there. So the chances of falling down is much more greater.
Yes, very important point. There is a chance of fall down. That's a very important point. So the path is risky also. Not only is it difficult, not only it takes many lifetimes, not only to control your senses, do a lot of austerities, but it is also risky. Or fall down. But there's yet another point, important point like that, which is what I'm trying to get at. Otherwise, one would conclude by just looking at it superficially, any path is same, I might as well go this path. A bit difficult, but still it's okay. It's not that. Yeah.
Prabhu, he may reach there, but he may not remain there because he has got the same attachment or love for Krishna. So even though he reached there, he may not remain there and again fall down.
In fact, devotees ask Prabhupada a very specific question. Those who go to Brahmajyoti, do they always fall down or do they sometimes fall down? And Prabhupada said they always fall down. Not sometimes, always. So that's not permanent anyway. Okay. So how can it be the same then?
Sorry, Prabhu. I remember you telling it's so going to the Brahmajyoti is spiritual suicide. So Prabhupada has also mentioned.
Yes, the Brahma says that 10th canto, Kaivalyam Narakayate. Kaivalya is like Naraka. It's like going to hell because there's no service for the devotee. It's hell. But one important point to be considered here. Yes, Ravi Prabhu, before I give the answer, let's have one more try. Please.
Ultimately, afterwards, he has to understand that Krishna is the Supreme.
That's the point. That we have to come to the personal form of the Lord eventually anyway. Purely by impersonal path, one cannot attain the same result. That is very, very important. It is same to the extent that by following the impersonal path, by doing austerities, controlling his senses, being equally disposed to everyone, engaged in welfare activities, all these things you do, but unless you have tinge of devotional service, unless you have the association of devotees, unless you are engaged in some devotional service, you cannot attain Krishna. Not possible. Why would Krishna say Bhakti Ananya Shakya? 11th chapter, right? Bhakti Ananya Shakya, there is no doubt. Microphone. So that devotional service has to eventually, even the impersonal has to come to personal service in order to attain the same goal. So the impersonal path only becomes a via medium to get to the personal path, which is the real thing anyway. It's not that to do parallel lines going and both will reach the goal. No. The impersonalist has to come to devotional service and then only retain the lotus feet of Krishna. So there is a distinct difference. Do you agree, Janardhan Prabhu? So that point has to be put clearly. Otherwise one could misunderstand, right? One would think that, either paths are good, this is about difficult, but you'll get there. No, you'll only get there because you happen to come to the personal path. Otherwise it's not going to happen. Purely remaining on the impersonal path, one has to fall down, as Brahma has confirmed.
Because he has to cross that path.
Exactly. He has to have devotee association. He has to engage in some service, knowingly or unknowingly. Like the Kumaras smelled the tulsi offered to Lord Narayan. They engaged in devotional service. The nose was engaged in devotional service. And therefore they could cross over to the devotional side. They got darshan of the Lord. But purely by being impersonal, one cannot reach the Supreme Lord. No, it's not the same. Manipasamaji?
Same like what Ravi Prabhu said. Because there's no form actually, and Bhakti Yoga, a devotional service, teaches you to worship the form and to imagine, it's not imagination also, you have to talk about the pastimes of Krishna. So in that pastimes of Krishna, you have the form. Without form, you can't have the pastimes. Yeah. So impersonalists won't have that rasa actually.
Yeah, correct.
And
very true.
What I realized is when I was doing Art of Living, there's a second part course which I did, and in that they used to always tell, after meditation, they used to tell, just imagine you're going home, you're going in the room, and you imagine there's a divine sitting in the room, and you're sleeping on the lap of the divine. So there was no description of who the divine is.
Yeah.
It's actually now I realize it's divine is Lord Krishna, but they don't specify that's Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They just say there's something divine which is effulgence, is Brahma Jyoti. So indirectly they want to say that. I'm not just discriminating or anything, but this is what I realized.
Yeah.
And being an impersonalist, and you're going to lead to Brahma Jyoti, which means you don't have any form. You just there's nothing sitting there, and you won't imagine, or you won't have the pastimes, the I can't describe what.
There's no relationship.
There's no relationship. So you can't just relate. There's no connection between you and
Correct.
Krishna. So there's a lot of difference between the two.
Sure. Thank you. Very good. Ravishankar, you want to say something?
I'm not sure if Sri Prahlad Prabhu was mentioning on a similar point this morning. He was answering a question this morning. He was mentioning about the 4 types of thing: Artha, Kama, Dharma, Moksha. At the end, he was actually stressing on the love of Godhead. I believe that's the point you're trying to derive here as well, I guess.
That's a slightly different analysis. That one is the Dharma as Varnashram Dharma, which is based on Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, getting liberation. Whereas Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us Bhakti, which is called Pancham Purushartha, and that is Prema. Krishna, Prema Pumartho Mahan. Mahaprabhu said, Prema Pumartho Mahan. The artha, the benefit or the achievement of a devotee, of a living entity, the highest achievement is Prema, get Krishna Prema. He is talking of that level. Whereas one who is engaged in Varnashrama can be worshipping Lord Vishnu, and is not an impersonalist. So that's a different category. He is following Varnashrama to eventually get purified gradually, go through all the stages and come to one point of becoming Brahma, and then eventually getting moksha. So that is Varnashrama Dharma. One is following that path. But here we're talking about personal and impersonal. Slightly different categories. So that is also described by Ramananda Rai in the discussion with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In that talk also, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, what is the perfection of human life? He said, to follow Varnashrama is the goal of human life. And Mahaprabhu rejects that, says, no, that's only external. Tell me something higher. So then he goes on to chant some. There's a whole discussion there. Yeah, but this is personal versus impersonal, which is a big debate and a big controversy and a big confusion among people. So Krishna is very clearly answering here. Those who worship the unmanifest will also reach eventually and surrender. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. But then the point is they can't come there until they have some devotional service, some contact with Krishna. Sambandha has to be established. They can't just get there with only Brahmajyoti Sambandha. Brahmajyoti, nobody talks of Sambandha. Brahmajyoti means there is no Sambandha. That's the whole point. So the Buddhists and the impersonalists, they can't make it unless they come to devotional service. That's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he delivered all kinds of living entities. But the one that took the longest to deliver are the impersonalists and the Buddhists. They were the hardest to convince, because they were contaminated with the Mayavad philosophy. Whereas the others, they were all very ignorant. Jagamada even, they were ignorant. Relatively, they were delivered much more easily. Whereas the Buddhists and the impersonalists like Sarvam Bhattacharya, Prakashananda Saraswati, all these personalities, they took a long time to deliver because they had so much contamination to overcome. But with the pure Brahmavadis, then they can, by mercy of devotee, they can come. So unless the devotee's mercy is there, it is not possible. Which means devotional service. Then that is consistent with what we read in the previous chapters. Bhaktya Mam Vijanati. Only by bhakti you come to know me. Bhaktya tu ananya shakya. 11th chapter, 9th chapter, 7th chapter, 8th chapter, 6th chapter. All these chapters have said only by devotional service that can be understood. Srimani Prabhu?
Prabhu, just to add to your point over here, mantra 12 of Isopnishad talks about this only, Prabhu.
Yes.
So, andam tama pravishanti ye sambhutam upasite tato bhuya ev te tamo ye u sambhutyam rata. Those who are engaged in the worship of demigods enter into the darkest region of ignorance, and still more do the worshippers of the impersonal absolute.
So, yeah, that's right. So if they remain on that platform, they are doomed. But if they but because they are on that path, at least they are purifying their senses, they are doing all this, there's a good chance that they might come in contact with the devotee and get purified. The eligibility is increasing that way, because they are attached to the mode of goodness. That's why that is the hope.
Sabrishan Prabhu has got a question. He is asking, when they join devotional stage, at what stage they join? So he's asking about the impersonal problem.
Brahmanda Brahmite kono bhagyavan jeev Guru Krishna prasade paye bhakti lata bhesh. Kono bhagyavan jeev. When the good fortune comes, there's no stage that you can get to. It's not that at some point impersonalist becomes a personalist. There's no guarantee like that. Kono bhagyavan jeev Guru Krishna prasad. When anyone gets the mercy of Guru and Krishna, they get transformed. So Narada Muni described so many people he delivered, right? He delivered the Valmiki, Dasu Ratnakar, Nalakora Manigriva he delivered, Mrigari the hunter he delivered. So many personalities he delivered. Who are fortunate to meet a great devotee, they get delivered. So there's no point in time. That's why bhakti is called causeless. You can't say 2014 I'll become a devotee. It's not necessary. Can't put date, time stamp on it. That's why it's called ahaituki. It's causeless. Yes, it is beyond time and space. It's causeless mercy of the Lord. The word causeless itself means there's no cause. The moment put date, time, place, then it becomes a cause. Sorry, Mataji?
Prabhu, then in chapter 2, the 41st verse, Krishna says that you begin from where you leave. So how is that connected to Guru Kripa? How is that connected to Bhagavat?
So the question is, how do you first begin? That 240, Niha Bikramana Ashwasti, the text 40, it actually says that a little advancement on this path can save one from the most dangerous type of fear. Certainly. But how do you start in the first place? How do you get that little advancement? That is possible by the association of devotees. See, cause of bhakti is bhakti only. So you can give bhakti if you have bhakti. You can get bhakti if someone has bhakti. You can't just do it on your own. It can't be done on your own. It has to be done by the mercy of a devotee. When Krishna is very merciful to devotees, then one gets the mercy.
But then you were saying point in time. So if we move, say, half a step, in next life we move from that there. So that when is that time that you pick up from where you left? How is that determined by the Lord, or is that?
It is all transcendental arrangement. There is no fixed rules that it has to happen like this or it has to. You can't. Usually what happens? You ask devotees, how did you become a devotee? They'll say, oh, I met this devotee, I had some prasad and something triggered off in me and I was, I felt different or I had a wonderful experience and I started again. So it's usually Agyata Sukruti, unknown pious activities we did, Agyata Sukruti. And because of that, one gets the mercy of devotees and then things take off. Also, one may get association of devotees, start doing some devotional service, then give up and go away, again due to bad association. That also happens. And then come back later on, like Jada Bharat was, Bharat Maharaj, he went off rail for a little while. Then he came back, made a mistake, but he came back. So all kinds of situations are there. It's hard to put a definite formula on that or answer to that. But definitely one thing is sure, it's mercy. You can't say, I've done such wonderful thing, I deserve it now. That's not the case. That we are clear. Anugraha. Right? Anugraha only. It's only anugraha. It is only by mercy. Okay then. Last comment, we're getting late.
So question, Prabhu. Do the devotees come into sadhana siddha then, under the three siddha categories?
Devotees aspire to be sadhana siddhas, yes. Study for exam, do well, and then get pass. Not Rabindranath Tagore. Okay. But really quick. Alright. Sorry, time is again.
There are so many versions of Bhagavad Gita and all. There are many people who read so many other versions of Bhagavad Gita and all. Will they also come into the understanding? Will they become impersonalists? They become, or
it depends on what motivation the person written the Bhagavad Gita. Huh? If the person written Bhagavad Gita with a particular motivation,
I'm saying, there are some people who memorize the slokas from Bhagavad Gita. They buy different versions of Bhagavad Gita.
That's what I'm saying. The mature version of Bhagavad Gita they are reading, the author has put their consciousness into that, right? So they will attain that consciousness. For example, Mahatma Gandhi wrote on Gita. He said Gita is a book on ahimsa. So those who read that his interpretation of Gita will end up becoming ahimsa proponents.
Yeah, but ultimately, will they come back to Krishna? Understand?
No guarantees. No guarantees. Because unless they engage in some devotional service, they cannot get. There's no guarantees. Yeah. Alright, I think we're running late. Thank you very much for your participation. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai.
His Grace VIjay Gopikesh Prabhu ki
jai. Samveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai. So Mathura Gokul Mataji, let's read from the... Okay, after that, yeah.
Nothing but the holy name, part 2 by Kadambakanan Swami. I am chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra like a driver in a car on a journey during the dark hours of night, who is totally focused on white lines. In the beginning of the spiritual life, we fix ourselves on the white lines of the regulative principles. Then with the passing of the time, the day breaks and the sun begins to reveal the entire landscape in full features. Of course, we still keep an eye on the white lines, but we also see mountains, rivers, forests, and many other sights. So with time, our Krishna consciousness expands and we think more and more of Krishna, His qualities, His name, fame, and glory, or how He is behind everything, and remembering Him touches our life with magic. Then staying with the white lines of regulative principles now comes with ease, although one must remain alert for the attack of Maya. Smaranteya satatam Vishnur Vishwamartavya na jatusrit sarve vidhi nisadha swara eta yora eva kinkaraha. To always remember Krishna and to never forget Him is the purpose of all regulative principles. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. This is always Kadamkan Maharaj ki jai, Sri Prabhupada ki jai, Amveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Shri Gauranitai ki jai, Jagannatha Balla Subramani ki jai, Radha Gopinath ki jai. Nan Gokul Prabhu.